You're being what? Yeah, I'm just throwing fire right now. I'm not trying to. It's got a mic right now. Is that,
it has a mic?
So yes, it's actually, you can probably see it. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wander around. You're all just taking the piss, so I'm just going to go around. I'm going to go around this way. I'm going to walk around past.
They do a lot of IT.
You two are a motley bunch, aren't you, really?
Fire rocket and
it just sort of snares it. It's like a sort of rat catching.
Yeah.
And it just snares it and drops
Yeah, no,
out
I've
of the
seen
sky.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the next one? It was an amazing thing, and no one knew what it was at the beginning. Someone cracked it. When at Barbary Castle, it was the first 10 digits of pi, and there's an asterisk P and R were in this crop circle, and the drone footage was drones. It's a lot of money paid for it.
That's lovely. I love that. That's a great way of keeping that alive.
Tailor the story. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Right, I'm going to take my camera and go and annoy a few other people and make sure. 3 months.
3 months. What's that for?
I was just sort of capturing life. I'm just sort of just wandering through, capturing you all, so that you're all going to be sort of somewhere. Just grumpy.
Just grumpy and tired.
I'm just like a tour guide.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Are you still going or are you not?
That's a good question. I don't think I can if it's Tuesday night. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
I need to.
I didn't think I could go, but I can go.
Right.
So I can.
Boys' dinners.
The what?
Are you talking about the
Yeah, about supper. Yeah.
So I could drive and I could. Who are you taking?
Ah. That's a good point, because I did offer a lift, didn't I? You're right, I did.
John?
Yeah, I think I've got a problem.
I can make Tuesday night.
I can't.
You can't?
No.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
When I
Hang on a minute. This is confusing. So when is supper? When is the supper club do?
I'm starving.
when I arrive, I know. But when I arrive in Italy at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning,
Right.
I'm going to send a message that says because there are no rules for supper club, and I've got a better offer.
Right.
I'm skiing for a week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's.
But I'm not sending it now because, and don't tell Simon.
Okay.
Because otherwise he'll probably try to physically drag me and throw me on the fire.
Well, actually, I'm grateful because I'm double booked because I've got to go with Natasha to football at Wembley. So actually, you've just got me off. So I did. I'm getting all sorts of home truths and
Are you?
Yeah. And I'm recording them all.
Are you?
And that's the thing. It's like, so I've just been talking a long conversation with John Stock, so I know all about crop circles now.
About what?
Crop circles and about headmen, so yes, I've got it all. It's all been recorded. So just be careful what you say.
Will you be careful what you're doing with it? I said that.
Someone else I recognise.
There we go, look!
Hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good, very well, thank you very much. Yes.
I was going to say some old faces arriving, but that's a bit rude.
I'm just recording him.
This camera.
trying to say which way it's pointing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I can sort of down there, around there. I'm going to capture you, so you know.
Flat as a weird camera.
So I was had a lovely conversation with John Stock. So I've learned all about crop circles. Now that's all been captured.
Oh, been recorded alive.
John and John.
Oh, that's two. Yeah, two Jonathans, in fact.
That's nice and easy.
That's it. Is that it?
I have two things for you. One, speech in 10:15. And two, can I have a bang for the same page
Hello, okay. Wow, there are a lot of people into this barn, more people than I think we've had in the barn for a long, long time. If ever. Definitely not the first floor.
So the fire alarm goes off, it must. Fire alarm?
So obviously we're all here for
What day of the week is the fire alarm?
Dad's 6 shift. It's happened. We're safe. So we're obviously all here for Dad's 6 shift. And so we wanted to,
That's the next 6, not the last one.
in the long tradition of Dad's speech making, we wanted to do a little thing of our own, where we obviously have the cake, we have the party every year, but we wanted to kind of start with a little trip down memory lane of Dad's Dad's early one.
It's a long trip.
Yes. So everyone's got a glass. Everyone's got a full glass, but
Yeah, is that forgot?
oh, sorry, Tom, I have. So just a very quick. We'll start with from obviously where it all started to, I guess that you obviously Mum turns up quite early on in the story. we end up here quite early on, and then Robin and Mark's also make an appearance. And so first of all, obviously we've got the before we even get to the cutting cake, we have the brother and sisters. So Phil and Jackie.
Come on, Ian.
Right, I've just been introduced, so I won't introduce myself, but I'm Philip, I'm Ian's older brother, and may I say, better looking one. Please forgive me by using my notes, my memory isn't as good as it was, something Ian will soon discover. And secondly, as Eric Morecambe said to Andre Previn on the classic Morecambe and Wise show, the content is there, but not necessarily in the right order. But here's a few memories of what I remember from about 0 to 10. If you believe it, Ian was quite a sickly toddler at one stage. He had a constant runny nose, which culminated with him in Cheltenham Hospital, having his adenoids out. I remember this well. He was given 2 6-inch 150mm for the youngsters, rubbery monster men.
Jealousy.
We tied him down from his bed in the hospital, and after he recovered, he grew about 6 inches in as many months. I hardly ever known him be ill since. Ian's rubbery men were soon followed by his love of dolls. And together with quite a lot of other men around here, it's probably Action Man, of course. Oh, yes. He had the Diver and Arctic Soldier, amongst others.
Of course. Great
The parachuter, we just throw him off the hay barn and he'd crash.
That's it. I don't remember arguing about toys, as I had my toy farm, once a farmer, always a farmer, and Ian had a wooden fort and a Hot Wheels racetrack. Ian was a good driver, even from an early age, which I think was the start of Dad's grey hair. Once he saw us driving down in a red and white pedal car. Ian at the helm, and Jackie and I having a great time careering down the drive. He agonisingly decided to hold his tongue, as he thought any noise would wreck his concentration. But somehow Ian got round the corner and went for round a hairpin bend and through the garden gate, which is not more than 3 foot wide in a pedal car. We quickly progressed to go-karts, made out of pram wheels and planks, with ropes used for steering. The brakes were crude or none at all. We had a steep drive with sharp corners and a run out at the bottom. We made one with 6 wheels and one with 4. There were a few modifications on ones before that, and we had to keep going scrap yards to get more pram wheels. We weren't always in control, and one day we crashed into our parents' friend's Capri. That had to pay for. Luckily, we were blissfully unaware of any danger. Dad thought Ian would create less havoc on the lake and built us rafts out of old tractor inner tubes, pallets and baler twine. We had hours of fun having raft races. Ian's passion for tree houses started in a beech tree above the drive, where he made a platform with sides from old pieces of furniture. Ian still has the photo Rodney took with him playing there. We had snow most winters at Luttridge, so our parents would organise toboggan parties. Some of you might have been to some of them actually. Once we had over 50 people there, out would come our homemade efforts, and we would get towed back up the hill by a tractor and rope. We would then pile into the house for tea and Mum's homemade cakes. Mum and Dad loved mass entertaining, and this is, I'm sure, where Ian gets it from.
I don't like it. Who the hell invited this lot?
Mucking around outside also came at a cost. And when Ian loses his hair, which he no doubt will, the number of
Not as fast as you.
The number of scars on your head, no one can equal that. And because I remember, the one I do remember is when we went to badminton horse trials, and we decided to play tag around the ropes. And Ian tripped, and somehow he missed this tent. Well, he didn't exactly miss the tent pole. He just slid it on the side. They were having a quiet drink inside. You gassed your head. Yeah. End of quiet drinks, and you lived to tell the tale, basically. Yeah, Ian's love of music started in nursery, where he used to drive poor Miss Benjamin mad, sitting under a chair beating a drum. And by the 10, this had evolved into the years of Benny Hills. Ernie the Milkman, of which he knows all the words. Well, he used to
No, that's Johnny.
I know Matty does.
Nursery, Ian went to Blue Boys School. Ian, I wonder if you remember the loose parquet floor tiles in the hall, the daily pints of lukewarm milk with no cream as the birds are pecking through, and the lunch being delivered in an old pram. The good old days. Then it was off to the local Stouts Hill Prep School where we boarded. We were all given plots of garden to cultivate the yearly Best Garden Schools competition. Ian and I mostly grew veg, and in the school holidays, as we lived close by, our parents would drive us back to school to liberate our veg and that of the boys living further away.
Not the bloody lettuces.
In those days, it was nothing to have 4 or 5 extra people at Sunday lunches when we used to bring back school boys from school. Now that's about it till 10. So I'm going to pass it
Thank you, Philip. I don't know how these are a few of my reflect of my teenage years with Ian.
I must have been good.
How long have we got?
He was always had a wild and adventurous side. Whether it was working on the farm or on our family holidays in West Wales with our cousins, or in a cottage in Argyll called the OSH. He loved the true sense of adventure, and which developed into a couple of ill-fated expeditions that I remember. The first was with his cousin Peter. They decided to navigate the River Usk, not in canoes, but in fiberglass coracles. There's one under the tree.
You've all been in, I think, most of it.
Yeah. These are if anybody's been in one, they're inherently unstable, and with all the camping equipment, even more so. So I do remember the trip only lasted a couple of days because the boats, all the boys, really weren't up to the task. Yeah.
Still there though.
Yeah.
But if anybody wants to go out in the coracle later, you're welcome. Hole's still in it.
On another expedition, he attempted alone, with the aim of spending the weekend walking in Glencoe. If I remember correctly, we dropped him off, and on the way back to the OSH, where we were staying, we heard on the car radio there was a severe storm coming. I know we spent a nervous night waiting to see if he was okay. Of course, there was no mobile phones. We had to hope that he reached the end of his walk, or that he was able to get the telephone box to ring us to pick him up. But I think I remember rightly, the weather was so bad that he nearly got blown off the mountain and only just made it to a shelter in time. But I'm sure he will regale you with the actual facts.
It wasn't good, but it was okay. All's well that ends well.
He's here to tell the tale. During the summer holidays, it was always hard work to be done. Ian certainly did not shy away from. He admitted to me the other day that while stacking the barn with hay, he would incorporate a tunnel from one side of the other to the other, where a window was, and another offshoot that went upwards to the hatch on the roof, probably, as I've just heard, to throw Action Man out. In a hay barn that was quite high up. Anyway, he inherited from his mother's side his creative ability. I know, because it must be complete.
Oh. No.
Creativity needs to be nurtured, though, and this came in the form of a pretty young pottery teacher at Radley College. I seem to remember.
You've never seen my bowls, have you?
It's the glaze that matters. Anyway, I always thought he would have a wonderful. I always thought he'd make a wonderful architect, and if he'd been steered in the right direction at the time. And I'm so glad he was able to achieve his ambition with what he's built up in the last 5 years in this wonderful barn that we're now standing in.
Built by most of everybody else.
You helped build it, but you designed it. And finished it off. Instead, of course, events and circumstances meant he followed a different path. At Radley, he took the wet bob route, which was rowing rugby and a sideline of archery. I don't know if he's still got those. Is that good? And at one point, he decided to be a vet, but distractions in his life meant he didn't achieve the grades required. So he went to the Royal Agricultural College.
Polite way of saying too thick.
Did agonise on how to write that?
Later on, did it? Yeah, too thick doesn't sound right. She's my sister. She's gonna sugarcoat it.
He did, though, develop leadership and mediation skills while at Radley.
She's talking up really well.
Yeah.
Leadership management skills or something like that.
This is positive.
Yeah. And he became head of house or social.
Boost. Boosting it.
Or perhaps the mediation came in separating Philip and I from our many outbursts when growing up.
Well, maybe.
Just last one thing. He, as was mentioned, he had a love of music and books with an extensive tape collection. He extended the shelving in his room a number of times to accommodate it, nicking bits from the storage room behind. I asked him if the music tonight reflected this, and he said nobody wanted to listen. I put Leonard Skinner, but apparently Leonard Cohen.
It would have been a lovely evening.
Either would have been lovely.
So, and
Thank you, Jackie.
So at this point, it's roughly the story.
At that point,
I'm not an expert.
At that point.
So I wasn't there. So I'm told at this point in the story.
We don't want your
otherwise.
opinion.
Yeah.
As you were saying earlier, this person here, Debbie, who some of you will know, and Jackie, without them, we would never have met.
So it's their fault.
I was told by Debbie that this bloke in the car was going to pick me up. So I mean,
You had a car?
Yeah.
So who was there for the young farmers? Come on, young farmers. Bella, that was you. Young farmers. Johnson,
No, I've got to be honest. The young farmers we invited, they're bloody lightweight, so they never showed up yet. They'll be here later.
Some of them farming. So we, and then we went to. I went off to Exeter. And you followed me down there, but then you went.
No, I got there first.
Well, only because I was going there anyway. But then he bought a bicycle and he went off round America. So New York to New York, via Canada and Vancouver and San Francisco and Miami. Which was quite a long time. 18 months. How many miles? 12,000 miles.
Many miles. Many.
In that time, that 18 months, we spoke twice on the phone. And the rest of the time we wrote letters.
Your time. These young lot, aren't they?
We have them. We haven't read them for a long time. But I used to send letters post response. So for the young audience, post response means when he was cycling to, let's say, Flagstaff, Arizona, a few weeks earlier, I would send off a letter in an ML envelope with all the stamps on to Flagstaff, Arizona Post Response. He would go to the post office in Flagstaff, Arizona and say, "Is there any post for me?" And they'd hand over a letter. Anyway, he eventually came back.
Not picked up.
He came back and we got married. Who was there? Yes. Best man. Tom, you weren't there, Tom.
No, Tom, you weren't there, right?
Best man's in there somewhere. There he is. And then we went off abroad. So we got married on Saturday, had another party on Sunday, packed on Monday, went to China on Tuesday to Wuhan.
That's not here for you.
And then we did all these things, and then I was born, and then Robin was born. And then we came back to Medway.
Well, at which point, one of us would love to tell you what happened with first segment, but we have no idea. I couldn't speak till I was apparently age 4, so I wouldn't be able to tell you anything. So we've got the people who know him best to be on the ground.
So yes, you can't choose your neighbours.
But if we could, we'd choose you.
But if we could choose our neighbour, then it would have been.
Yeah, but you couldn't choose, so it's.
I haven't got any notes, and I actually thought to send, to be asked to speak at someone's 60th. I'd like to really, almost like a eulogy.
I'm thinking more of as a christening.
When you go to a eulogy, everybody says all these lovely things about the person that has passed away, even if actually they weren't going to. You know something? I'm going to take a moment to say what a wonderful friend and neighbour. Woo! But also what an incredible person you are. I don't think I know anybody who is more positive than you. You can do anything, and if you don't know how to do it, you just go on YouTube, or you just work it out, or you bodge it, or you can
Bodge it, that's a good.
You just do it.
Imagine the structure way.
You are a very modest man. You are a very kind person. Yeah. And you have a lot of good friends, but you are a good friend, to say that. And in fact, we're all here. But what I think is so wonderful is the fact you have got all your kids here and their friends, because everybody loves you. It's true.
That's all right, you paid her enough.
But what's so funny, Ian is probably one of the least judgmental people I know. You never hear him gossip about anybody, but I was incredibly judgmental on the day I met him. Which was, I think, 25 years ago, something like that. I can't quite remember. But we'd heard that this couple were buying the wharf and that they lived in America. And that you were over, I can't remember, maybe for a weekend. And I saw them out in the lane. I said, oh, hello, I hear you're moving in. And there was Ian, heavily bearded, in shorts and open-toed sandals. I just immediately thought, oh gosh. He's probably a vegetarian. We had a pleasant chat. Pleasant conversation, and then said, oh well, when you move here, we must get together. And I went to Simon and said, I think he's a vegetarian. I think probably several months later they came for dinner, and I discovered that he did eat meat immediately, because we just immediately warmed to you, and I told you the story. I came clean straight away and said I judged you. But yeah, you're a really good person, and you are a very noisy party animal. The parties you've had, but you've also got that very quiet side to you that is very special and unique. And you very quietly look after people behind the scenes without shouting about it. So I want to thank you on behalf of all your friends for being such a good friend.
So, follow that. Yeah, so Bob's so I guess for everyone who doesn't know the three of us, who I guess there might be people here. There's obviously myself, Robin and Marcus, and we're going to
As long as you don't sing a song, we'll be alright.
We're arranging height order, don't we? And hair order. So that's got nothing to do with this. And so what we're going to do, it's part of it though. What we will do though is, I think from the early years, obviously Caroline's introduced us to the village, and so from the early years when we had unbelievable upbringing. We had the luckiest, the most most stunning upbringing. We had the countryside at our fingertips. We had loving parents. We had the holidays and everything. You look back on it as a really special time. So we have a couple of small bites about they barely come. Nothing is going to come close to saying how nice it's been, but a couple of small anecdotes, and then we'll let everyone get on the cake, get on the drinks, and
which will demonstrate how nice it hasn't been.
Well, ironically, the first one does actually.
First of all, thanks to everyone for coming. It's really nice to see you all here. I'll try and keep this fairly short. I have a whole list of anecdotes that I could tell about Dad. I think I'll stick to the 1-2 this time. You can come and find me after the cake. I might have some other recipes for you. But I mean, growing up with Dad, there's a couple of sort of key words that always stick out with him, and the first is definitely consistency. You are the same as my earliest memory. He's old now. It's a good thing. I think this is really accented by, I remember being in the village at our granny and grandpa's house some years ago. Dad was showing me through a photo book of when he built the barbecue 15 years before. And there was a very proud picture of him standing next to the barbecue wearing a polo, shorts and sandals 15 years before. And I look at the picture and I look up next to him. The exact same polo. And this isn't a copy, he's had the same pose. Those tethers, I don't know how long those tethers last. So consistency is, I think, something very, very consistent about it. But the other two things, and it's interesting because Caroline really touched on it, is your relentless positive attitude and your problem-solving ability. And I think the best sort of anecdote to sum up these two things is we were traveling around Central America. We had this trip planned for ages. I unfortunately broke my wrist about 2 weeks before we left. And so my entire arm was covered in a huge plaster cast. I couldn't move my elbow, my wrist. I was really shut in. It was, by the by, it was a really hideous tackle by Quinton Smith. He denies it. We'll move past that.
You can't choose your neighbours.
It was a good tackle, Robin.
But so we've been given a date by the doctors, obviously, when you can take the cast off, and it was right in the middle of our holiday. And Mum and Dad obviously thought, well, we booked it, so we'll go anyway. And so we're in Costa Rica. It starts to rain one day, maybe about 2 weeks out from when I'm supposed to get my cast off. I don't know what their plan was. Maybe take me to some Costa Rican doctor who can take it off in a professional way. But what happened was we got a bit of rain on my cast, and so it started to sort of melt a little bit. And Dad just sort of a light bulb moment. We were in the hostel. He went to his bag, took out his penknife, and found a garden hose around the bag. And he decided 2 weeks before I was supposed to get it off that I'm probably fine. I don't need this cast anymore. The doctors don't know what they're talking about. And so what he did was he took me around the back and just sprayed me all over a garden hose while hacking at me with this penknife. Mum, I don't know if you've quite got over the fear. Well, this is what I'm saying. So, Dad knew that what he was doing would probably be okay. And so he put a maximum effort, he saw a solution, and he just saw it through. And it was fine.
Stop winning.
Exactly.
So I suppose it's my turn now. The other two elders have spoken. And well, I've been in quite a fortunate position really, because I mean, ever since, as many of you know, Dad semi-quit his job recently, he has decided to start building things for other people, which is rather nice of him. And as I'm sure many of you have benefited. And I have had the great pleasure of helping him do a lot of these projects. And I mean, the first thing I remember, the most impressive thing about him is how he just doesn't stop. The first thing I remember, he gets a job in his mind, he gets an idea, like, well, let's take this barn for example, or the extension, which I actually remember. I don't remember this barn. This is just here, always, surely. And when he started building it, we started in August, the beginning of lockdown, and I mean, he just sort of said, okay, I planned this extension. I've gone to the building. They've said it's okay. They've got planning permission. That's all fine. So let's start building it, right? And so we just started digging it. He didn't. We just dug out a load of he just went to the digger. He was very happy about that. He does love a digger, and he just started digging the trenches after laying them out with some string. So it's mostly square for that.
Mostly, but not entirely.
And it started. I remember at one point it started raining. So he just kept going. Unfortunately, I was there for that one, so I had to help him do it. And then there was a tree stump in the way. So he got a person who knew how to hire a tree stump, get rid of a tree stump, but he'd still be the one digging it out. He'd use the spade more than anyone else. He'd always be the person doing the manual labour for the stuff he did. And then all of a sudden, before it should have been, the foundations were dug and he started laying concrete. And then I went off to uni and didn't help anymore, happily. So he started, then he had lockdown, so he didn't go anywhere, and he just built the walls and the roof and everything else. By the time I came back, it was done. It was incredible. He just sort of, within a matter of no time, he would have spent every waking hour of his life on this project because he loves doing it, and he's created something amazing, as I'm sure you will all agree. Yeah. And I mean, it's the same whenever we go on another project. Even if it's not just for us, it's for other people who have. He's getting paid for it, but he's not.
Not much. This is wine I'm fine with. But he's doing it
because he really loves doing it. I mean, he'll go there, work every day. It's exhausting, but he'll come home and say, "Oh, I managed to get the first floorboards down today," and the owners are so happy they can stand on it finally. So they're so impressed and he's just so enthusiastic still about building these incredible things, and I'm so happy that I've been able to sort of help him out with a couple of these because I think it's incredible. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to sort of learn from you to do all these.
So, I mean, I first of all echo everything that everyone's just said. I'd like to echo as well because they can't sum up as well as I can't sum them up as well as they can. If I get an ounce of your work ethic or your positivity, I'll be a happy man. But before anything else, I just really want to thank a few other people. Mum, first of all, for everything here is, Mum has done so much behind the scenes on this, so it's really, really kind. Julia as well.
Yes.
The cake.
And there are 60 nails in that.
I don't regret it. We know what that's like.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone else for coming here, obviously brilliant. I hope you stay as long as possible. It's going to be brilliant. What I would do is just hand over to Dad because we've done the last 60 years. And, Dad's got another 60 years in him, so.
Well, I wasn't expecting the first bit, I certainly wasn't expecting the second bit. But if I could make a prediction of the next 60 years, which I can't, so I won't.
A wish list for the next 60 years. Well, the wish list for the next 60 years will be pretty similar to the last 60, so that's not going to take very long to get through. So, well, no, I think what I can't really that stuff. So all I'm going to do is say thank you to everybody, and I'm going to say thank you to a few people specifically. I should certainly and absolutely will start with Rachel.
Great choice.
I was looking at my lawyer there. Because, well, in about 15 years' time, Rachel will also be 60. And then we can all speak so highly of her, but I will speak highly of her to start with.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
She is.
So then the next thing I was going to say, the people I was going to thank. Well, I was going to just thank those three, but I'm not going to thank those three.
That is fair, though.
I do think they're amazing, and I think that he needs a haircut. He doesn't. So what I'm going to do, so instead of thanking them, I'd like to thank, and now some of you are going to quake in your boots here because you're actually included in this. I'm going to thank Team Tom, Team Robin, and Team Marcus. And you know who you are, because there are lots of you all over, for what we're about to get this evening. Because we're seriously handing over to these guys to do stuff that we're going to enjoy. So, thanks very much. You know who you are, you're Team Marcus, you can't get away, you can't hide, you're here now. So I want to thank all of you that are present for all that. And I want to thank everybody else for coming. Of course I do, because they're brilliant people from all sorts of times. I mean, I'm looking at Alex, I'm looking at John and Eric and Derek and people from all different times. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'm also looking at all of the friends of Marcus, Robin and Tom who, I might just say that in the right order. I think when you say, you pick out one of their names and you get it wrong. But if you've got to talk about all of them, it works because you say all three of them anyway, they don't really talk as wrong. So it's actually fine, so like, en masse. En masse. Thank you guys, it's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And what I was going to say one thing, I'm going to say one other thing. All of you are standing here and you've had I hope, not an unreasonably enjoyable afternoon talking to people you know. Now the real challenge is to talk to somebody you don't know. So I'm going to challenge all of you who are standing next to somebody you don't know who the hell they are to say hello to them, right? So I'm going to challenge all of you to say hello to somebody you don't know because we know them and they all know Rachel. They all know Rachel. Therefore you know. Okay. So
I'm going to say something now.
I've never finished. I just
The next day of the evening, if anyone is gasping for a tea or coffee, there are teas and coffees around the corner. So go and help yourself to a tea or a coffee. We're going to cut the cake, and there's all sorts of lovely sweet stuff here, and the grazing board's still going on. And then
count that as a bit of a lull, and then we'll get going. And thank you all very much for being here. You've got to take the cake home again because I can't cut it. It's way too beautiful to cut. It's too beautiful. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Well, I make my wishes. I don't want to cut the cake.
That's it. Go on. It's not that heavy.
By the way, while I'm doing this, I want to thank one other person who you will all have an opportunity to make lots of noise for very shortly. I'd like to thank the man with the rather ridiculous coat on.
Inside seats.
Yeah.
Pretty open. Woo! Manned by Tom. Well, it is now. It is not really manned by Tom, but anyway, it's beautifully manned. So go and have yourself a gin. But the big new news on the block is that the sushi bar down here in far end is now open. So grab a gin, go down there, eat some sushi, come back, and then we'll try something else. If that doesn't work, we'll try something different. Done deal.
Oh wow! There we go. Thank you very much. You're going to be.
I get nervous. I don't know what it's looking at.
You're going to be hoarse by the end.
I'm a horse.
And measure. Come here.
David.
Doesn't know your name, and your heart is